Today's episode of Lone Star Lawyers on the Varsity Podcast Network is brought to you by Varsity Search. Varsity Search builds great teams by connecting lawyers in Texas with career opportunities at small and boutique law firms. So if you're thinking of making a move or your law firm is looking to hire, please go to varsitysearch.com and book a time to visit right into my calendar. Varsity Search, building great teams. Hey everyone, Daniel here back with you on Lone Star Lawyers. Before we get started, I want to let you know of a few of the opportunities that we are currently searching for. In Dallas, we've got several business and commercial litigation positions, including one with a focus on commercial bankruptcy. We've got business litigation and an M&A opportunity at a mid-sized firm. Over in Austin, we've got both family law and special education. In Tarrant County and Fort Worth, looking at both family law and a corporate and real estate position, and then personal injury in Houston. So all over the state, lots of opportunities. If any of those sound interesting to you, or you just want to visit about opportunities that might be out there for you, please give me a shout, Daniel at varsitysearch.com. All right, today we are in Seattle, Washington. More on that later, where our guest is Bobby Soltani. And Bobby is a partner and a patent attorney with Seed IP, the largest IP law firm in the Pacific Northwest. Bobby's practice focuses on the U.S. and foreign patent prosecution of electrical engineering and computer software matters, and patent litigation, infringement opinions, licensing, and strategic portfolio management. Bobby is a four-time selection to Washington Rising Stars, is a board member for the Washington State Patent Law Association, and he lectures on U.S. patent practice at the University of Washington's renowned Center for Advanced Study and Research on Innovation Policy. Oh, and he and I have been friends since the third grade, and we're best men in each other's weddings. And so that's why we wanted to bring on the first non-Texas lawyer to the show today. We also share an appreciation of all things Seinfeld, and therefore immediately following this conversation, we did a movie verdict style episode on all things legal in Seinfeld. So after this episode, I hope you'll check it out. All right, with that, let's hop into our conversation with Bobby Soltani on today's Monday Mentors episode of Lone Star Lawyers. All right, Bobby Soltani joins us right now. Bobby, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. All right, so we already decided that this is going to be a CLE where we're going to keep it short so we can roll right into the after hours piece, which is the Seinfeld talk. So
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, that's what we're really here for. So for everyone listening right now, you should also have in your feed a breakdown of all Seinfeld legal issues. But we're going to do the serious heavy lifting first right now and do a real Monday Mentors episode. So let's start right there. All right. So, Bobby, tell us first about your law firm and your practice and what you do.
Okay, great. So my law firm is Seed IP. We're based in Seattle. We specialize in intellectual property law, and we are the largest IP boutique in the Pacific Northwest. Personally, I work in patent prosecution and preparation is my primary focus in the electronics and software area. And so I have a background in electrical and computer engineering. And so I mostly work with small, medium, and large size clients in all different types of technology areas, such as gaming and software, medical devices, things like that.
Awesome. So what are some of the latest issues that are arising with some of your clients, maybe some novel things that you're seeing? I mean, obviously in your type of practice, everything's new all the time, I suppose, but
Right.
but in terms of legal issues,
right.
What are you seeing these days?
Yeah, so in the software space, there's a big issue lately has been what is eligible, what types of inventions are eligible to be patented. So it's called in patent legalese, it's patent eligible subject matter, and so there's the statutes themselves are very broad and say essentially everything can be patented.
Right.
But the courts have drawn limits on that. You know, they don't want people to be able to patent certain natural phenomena that exist out there or something that's too abstract that would just block entire, areas of innovation.
Right.
So the courts are wrestling with drawing where that line should be. So when I'm representing my software clients right now, there's been a lot of uncertainty in the last 5 or 6 years, and so that case law has been developing, and we've been watching it closely. But it's really hard to give concrete advice to your client about what's going to be patentable and what's not going to be patentable. And there's a lot of variation at the patent office. There's a lot of variation in the courts. So it's something that we've been, working with and struggling with for the last several years. But we've found different ways to kind of hedge the risks and try to manage it the best we can. But it's something that's a constant issue in the software space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then what about how COVID's been impacting your clients? I mean, I know that obviously we're in Texas. Most of our listeners are in Texas. You're in Seattle, which was sort of at the brunt of things at the very beginning. And so probably a little bit more conservative approach to the pandemic than what we had here in Texas. And so conservative meaning cautious, not conservative politically.
Right. Yeah, that would not be the case.
Yeah, that would not be the case. Cautious. And so, how are, as we're recording this on June 16th, so for people listening later, and kind of contextualizing that with the timing of where we are, what are kind of the latest COVID implications around your clients and your firm?
Yeah, so, here in Seattle, most of the law firms and our clients, they're still working from home. We have large corporations here with Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and they're still all working from home right now. Several of the clients I work with, they're maybe going in once or twice a week if they need to work in the lab, something like that, but the actual offices are still closed. But really, as far as my work with them, it's been fairly smooth process, smoother than I would have expected. It just seems like between phone, video, email, we've been able to stay in communication throughout the process. So the pandemic. So we've been very fortunate to continue to work that way. When the pandemic first hit last March, there were a lot of the clients were just because all the uncertainty, they kind of put things on hold, and we're just trying to get a bearing on what all this meant. But it seems like towards the summer, kind of everyone had shifted to working from home and had started picking up with the patent process again. And so also I have clients in different areas, and some areas have been hit hard by the pandemic, and then others maybe even haven't been affected that much, or maybe even booming. I have some clients in the gaming space, and apparently when everyone was home, people were playing video games. So
Sure.
Their sales were way up, and so everyone was affected differently in that way.
Interesting. Yeah. And talk a little too about your career arc and journey, because I mean, having I'm obviously, and for people listening now, why are we talking to a lawyer in Seattle? So Bobby and I are like best friends from third grade, and we're in each other's weddings, best man in each other's weddings. So that's why. So you'll indulge me after 81 episodes, bringing in a non-Texas lawyer who still has awesome advice to share. But having gone to law school in Oklahoma and practiced in Colorado, practiced in Seattle, and in various firms. Talk a little bit about those stops and kind of what you picked up just career-wise from kind of working with different types of firms and sizes of firms, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I started out of law school in 2007 in Oklahoma and went to Colorado and worked in Boulder for about 3 years at a very small patent boutique firm there. There was about 14 total attorneys, so I think we had maybe 7 partners and 7 associates, which was great. I got a lot of really good hands-on experience and a lot of immediate client contact, which I think was really important for me. So there was not a big law firm structure where you don't see clients until you third year, fourth year, or something like that. It was really just immediately from day one. And even when I was a summer associate there, I would get to go and meet with clients and interact with clients directly. So I think that was a really good fit for me for the first few years. After that, I was working in patent prosecution only, and I'd wanted to do some patent litigation work as well. And so I started looking for opportunities to do that. And that's what brought me out to Seattle. So I came in Seattle in 2010 to work for a large firm here, Davis Wright Tremaine. Mm-hmm. And there I was doing about 50% patent prosecution, 50% patent litigation. I enjoyed it, but over 3 or 4 years, I found that patent litigation wasn't for me. Just didn't really suit my personality style. Maybe a little too contentious, and so
Quite contentious.
quite contentious. Exactly.
We're gonna start dropping some Easter eggs for the Seinfeld episodes. So.
There we go. Yeah. You know how hard it was for me to refrain from saying, "Didn't I beat you up in third grade?"
Awesome.
But yeah, so then I moved over to Seed here in 2013, and so I was really looking. I had been at a large firm, and patent practice there was one practice group of many practice groups, and I was looking for a law firm that really just focused only on IP and patent law, and I just really found that Seed, over the years being here in Seattle, was kind of the firm that really had all the expertise that I was looking for, and really helped me with my training, going forward. So we have, kind of different patent attorneys in all different technology areas, which I found to be really helpful for working with clients, especially larger clients that have various technology spaces. So I felt just having kind of the bench strength of a large patent group was great.
Yeah. What about, since you talked about the time that you spent doing litigation, I wanted to ask you about that because, sometimes I'll talk with folks who don't have the hard science background that you have to do the patent prosecution work. But there are some firms, I don't know if the firms that you were with would do this, but there are some firms that will require that background for the litigators as well. And then other firms won't. Other firms will certainly let people do or hire people to do IP litigation without that hard science background. I wonder if you saw folks litigate that didn't have that hard science background but in the IP space, and what you would say to those that are maybe thinking about that, and how they can kind of catch up on what they need to know and kind of supplement, to get up to speed, on the IP side of things, the tech side of things, to be able to do that successfully.
Right. So yeah, I did see that definitely. We had all types of undergrad degrees that were working on litigation, and I saw it on both sides. So I think it's fairly common. Maybe a little bit more difficult to get your foot in the door. I think that's the one thing. Yeah. So I found that maybe some of them maybe weren't hired directly to do pure patent prosecution or patent litigation. Maybe they were hired to do trademark or copyright litigation, mm-hmm. or even privacy, something like that, and then they maybe got pulled into patent litigation and kind of develop the skills that way. Yeah. So that might be one way to kind of, get your foot in the door and then, show your interest inside the firm and then work, towards that. But I think there's, certain cases, it depends, you might not need specific technology, and then sometimes maybe even being, more of a layperson can be helpful. I mean, you're having to describe these and explain them to a judge and a jury eventually. So I think the being able to, and you're working with experts, so being able to just pick up things and understand them yourself at a level that can be described, and you can describe to judges and juries at more of a higher level can be really helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also all the factors and the values that's for different types of litigation, it's also really valuable for, patent litigation as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of writing and arguing and things like that. There's a lot of skills that transfer over to various types of litigation.
Yeah. So it sounds like, I mean, the majority of what you saw was maybe more so someone getting in as a litigator in a different area, but at a firm that had IP litigation, and then starting to kind of take on more IP work, and just kind of gravitating over towards it, as opposed to getting hired right into doing it kind of from the ground.
That's what I saw. Yeah. Right. That's what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And obviously, people here in Texas know, like, here in Waco, we're now kind of an IP litigation hotspot right now. So
it's like every week there's another $1 billion judgment, it seems like.
We got a little friendly jury down here. I don't know what's happening. Got some big verdicts. I don't know what it is. Judge Albright's got a whole docket of IP stuff, and it sounds like that'll continue. So it's not Marshall, Texas anymore, in East Texas, I guess. It's down here in Waco.
Dover, yeah.
All right. So as you look back on your first couple years of practice, what's something that you learned then that continues to be part of how you practice today?
I think probably the biggest thing is probably knowing the audience. When you're communicating, knowing who you're communicating with and what they're expecting. So I think that's something that was taught to me early on by the partners I was working with, and I continued to use that, in every day of practice. We deal with lots of different, people. So I deal with examiners, I deal with associates, I deal with staff, I deal with various clients, and the clients have different levels of expertise and background. And so that might be, for a smaller client, I might be dealing with a CEO, or a mid-level client, I might be dealing with general counsel. And for a larger client, I might be dealing with patent counsel. And so kind of learning how to communicate with them and kind of give them the level of background and level of information they need to do their job and to make the decisions. I think that's something that's really important. If a client is asking for a one-word answer, then you don't want to give them a 5-page memo that they have to pour through just to get their answers so they can make their decision. So that's something that I feel like that was really kind of hammered home to me early on when I was working, and I feel like it's something that continues to be very important in my practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that you learned or maybe discovered or picked up more recently that you wish someone, or maybe later on in practice, that you wish someone would have taken you aside and told you when you were getting started?
I guess I would say maybe being comfortable with just the process of learning to be a lawyer. I think that's something that, it just takes time. You go to law school and you come out of law school and you've taken a lot of classes, but you really, it's still, there's just so much to learn on the, just doing the work. And so I think, for me personally, there was always a level of discomfort because I was working around people that were way more, had way more experience than I did. And so that was something that I was continuously, there's a slight level of uncomfortableness there. And that's probably some of that's good because it drives you. But, I think just kind of knowing that that's part of the process, you're learning and you're going to make mistakes. And you're not expected to be an expert when you first start. You're kind of, that's why there's a fairly long progression to being a lawyer. Right. And so I think that's something that would have been helpful for me to kind of just know that that's a normal process and we all go through it.
Yeah, just to have that patience while you're learning how to be a lawyer.
Right.
So as you've worked with and observed young lawyers and associates, what's something that stands out to you from a positive standpoint? What can an associate do that impresses you?
So I think the first thing is just show, ownership and dedication to the work and to the projects. I think that's something that really, to just show me that they really care about a project and want to do a good job. And I think that's something that's, probably the biggest thing for me. And it kind of taking a step back, it's really about trust, getting to a point where I feel like I can trust the associate, they can trust me, and that we work together well. So I think that's showing that they care about a project. Also, communication is another one that's just really big. I think keeping a very open communication with me, and I try to do the same with them as far as what's going on with projects, the status updates, if there were any mistakes, making sure that we discuss those and not try to hide those type of things, just keeping everything open and, communicating on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about any pet peeves or things that you don't like to see out of associates? I'm sure there's a list.
Well, the opposite of what I just
said.
Yeah, lack of communication. So yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think maybe not showing creativity. I think sometimes so what basically our job is trying to solve our clients' problems, come up with solutions, and sometimes they are creative and they need to be creative and they're not just straightforward. So I think seeing that maybe, and I think another thing is everyone's busy. So we're all busy, always busy all the time. But I think seeing maybe work that is, the effort was maybe not where, it should have been. That's something that, can be a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. When you all go through the process of hiring an associate, what are some of the key things that you're looking to see, like on a resume, in a cover letter, and keeping in mind, this would be, someone maybe that's got a couple years, 3 years of practice looking to lateral in. What are some of the things that you're looking to see from a positive side, and also things that you're looking for to screen out people as well?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, our firm is a little bit unique because we do have a specialized in
Sure.
patents mostly. So it kind of depends on what we're looking for. So a lot of times on the resume, or transcripts, we're looking at specific degrees or classes, which is maybe a little bit unique in other law firms. Maybe with more general practices, don't focus on the particular degree as much. But as far as the resume and the cover letter itself, I think we're looking for a couple of things. So one, I think, is consistency. So to me, like consistently, challenging themselves, whether it's in school or at work or their activities or volunteering, just trying to see that, someone is active and doing something that, is promoting their career. And it doesn't have to be perfectly linear. I mean, obviously, but something that, kind of seeing that they're putting in a lot of effort and hopefully getting good results there.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, because I get asked this. It's on the top of my mind because I just got asked it earlier, but today. But I get it fairly often. What are your thoughts on seeing someone who's maybe been out 3-4 years and has already been at like a couple of firms? So they were at one firm for 2 years, another firm for 2 years, or maybe it's a year and a half, and then a year and a half. Like, I think it seems like we're in a different climate now than maybe 20 years ago, where it was kind of expected maybe you'd go one place and stay for a long time, and people don't necessarily expect that anymore. But what are maybe some of the conversations that come up with you all when you see someone that's maybe bounced around a little bit in those first few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, 1 or 2, moves early on in the career, I think doesn't really raise the flag for me, because I think there's lots of reasons people move. It might be for family, it might be for locations, or there might be, just a bad work situation. So I don't tend to just write those off. If it's something like 6 or 7 moves in 6 or 7 years, something like that, which we see some of those, and I mean, those are more difficult. I think that's something that, if they were a really good fit as far as their resume or their, background or education, we would probably still, want to talk to them. But I think that, when it gets too high, it is a little bit concerning, because we think that there's, it's really a big investment to bring someone in and train them up and that kind of stuff. And so when there's a track record of a lot of moves, it tends to be somewhat of a red flag there.
Yeah. In that scenario, in interviews, is that something that you'll ask specifically about, or is it something that you'll hope that the candidate raises on their own, or how does that tend to play out?
Yeah, I mean, I usually would hope they would bring it up on their own and kind of walk me through.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're going to know that that's an issue that we're going to be thinking about, or they should know that.
Right.
So usually, yeah, if they can walk us through it, and like I said, a lot of times, once the candidates explained it to us, it makes a lot of sense, and it's not something that we would view as negative. And it's always difficult from a candidate's position, especially when maybe they left because they were under bad circumstances at a law firm, and they don't want to be seen as negative or someone that was talking down about a previous firm. So it could be a tricky position to have that discussion. But but that's kind of part of the interview also, is let's see how they handle these difficult conversations.
Yeah, because obviously you don't want to be disparaging of your former employer, but you're trying to like provide a reason that makes sense to the new firm as to why you left. So it's a balance there. So anything else like within the more generally within the interview itself that you're looking for and wanting to see?
I mean, I think one of the big things is just I want to like the person, just someone that, really. I mean, I just want to, if we have a good conversation and, they're friendly and someone, because, I'm looking at someone that, I'll be working with closely for a long time, hopefully, and hopefully maybe, be a future partner of mine. And then also even in the shorter term, I'm wanting to, have them interact with clients, have them, be part of the firm. And so it's just someone I'd want to say that I'd like to spend time with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
Yeah. How could anyone not like him?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe some people don't like him.
I can see that. All right. So one of the things that, I think it was certainly a topic before COVID hit, but I think it's sort of taken on a new angle after COVID. But it's just kind of the work-life balance issue, particularly with lawyers and young lawyers, and how to work through that, and obviously kind of flexibility of where and how you work is part of that, but not all of it. What have as a firm, what have you all been doing or thinking about when it comes to that topic, and how do you kind of view that? And I'm also thinking about, when associates are going through interviews and looking at lateraling places, I know it's hard because they don't want to bring it up because they don't want to sound like they're not going to work hard or whatever, but yet it is something that they care about. And so I don't know, how has that come out or been, something you guys have dealt with at Seed?
Yeah, so the pandemic has been positive and negative in some ways in this respect. And so I think the being able to work from home, Seattle is a pretty high traffic area, and so being able to work from home has kind of freed up people to work from home and not have these longer commutes. We have some associates and different partners that have gone and stayed with family for months at a time and things like that. So it's allowed that kind of flexibility, which is good. On the opposite side, there's a little bit less of a break between the office and the home. It's kind of people maybe just feel like that they're at work all day long now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a challenge, I think, but Seed here, we've been trying to support our staff as much as we can, and offering different, support as far as, exercises and activities and meditations and things like that. And then also just trying to let people know, to continue to support your mental health, your physical health. It's really important, and you need to kind of set these boundaries. So have a set time when you come in and you're working, and then after a certain time you're off work, and you're not checking email at 9 p.m. Those types of things. It can be really challenging to do that, though. I think it's something that we have to work on, and especially in the legal career, it tends to be filled with people that work a lot of hours, and there's clients that are always want things yesterday, and so it's something that I think it's a continuing challenge, but hopefully we're getting a little bit better.
Yeah, because I'm sure there are plenty of clients that don't refrain from emailing after 9 p.m. at night, right?
Right, that's right.
And that expect a response.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the last topic that I wanted to ask you about specifically, being both a lawyer, being in IP, is just about the future of legal practice as it relates to technology. And we haven't talked much about this on this show, just a couple of times, I think. But between some of the, whether it be legal process outsourcing and artificial intelligence and some other things like that, what are you expecting to see in the or changes you're expecting to see in the way that we practice and the way that technology becomes more part of legal practice over the next 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, so I think the analytical skills that lawyers have is going to be more important. I think we're going to be focused more on doing, kind of fundamental legal research and fundamental relationship building and communications and things like that is going to be more important. And some of the more kind of day-to-day things that might be able to be replaced by AI relatively soon, that's going to be something that's, going to start going away. And so people are going to have to kind of shift their focus. So I think to give you one example, so patent searching in the patent world is like that. So that's that's a project where people, attorneys, these types of things can go and search and look for prior art and references. Right now we have a lot of AI that is still, hasn't replaced human searchers, but there's products out there that do a pretty good job of doing that. But I think it's kind of shifted a lot of the work to the analysis side. So right now we have the AI is able to find these documents, but maybe it's not as, nearly as good as a human in actually reviewing and being able to do the analysis and the communication back to the client. So I think that's something that's an example of an area that, AI is trying to work its way into. And I think it's actually producing tools that will be really helpful and cost effective for clients, which is a good thing. But it also just kind of shifts the work more to the analysis side.
Interesting. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got rapid fire questions to finish out. Before we do that, if there's anything that we haven't hit on that you think would be good for young lawyers to hear before we move to that, we can do that. And then after we finish up here, we're going to go right into deep dive Seinfeld. So that's what everybody's here for, right?
Exactly.
But before we do that, anything that you'd want to leave these lawyers with?
I would just say work hard, work on your relationships, keep in touch with everyone from law school. As far as as you get more senior, usually developing business becomes more and more important. So I think as a junior lawyer, I think the best thing you can do is do good work. A lot of times the people you work with or work for, they become your future possible clients or referral sources. So I think that's something that you should focus on and consider that to be very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Rapid fire, one word, one phrase,
rapid fire
answers. Here we go. Name one trait or characteristic that you most want to see in an associate.
Dedication.
Okay. All right. What habit has been key to your success?
Keeping a daily task list.
There you go.
And checking off everything each day. Yeah.
Thought we were going to say flipping the pen.
Well, that helps too. Yeah.
All right. Favorite app or productivity tool?
Probably OneNote.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Microsoft OneNote. Yeah.
We'll link to that. What would you list first in the interest section of your resume?
Well, Seinfeld would probably be first, but
of course, obviously.
We'll go with tennis.
There you go. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I can guess this one. We have not planned this, so obviously planned the question because we ask it each time. Your favorite legal movie? I wrote it down. Favorite legal movie?
So, do you mean to say what it is or what I think you think it is?
Oh man, that's like corner first and first. I don't know. I've got a couple that I'm thinking you might say here, so I definitely could be wrong, but I'm just going to take a guess.
Okay. All right, I'll go with 12 Angry Men.
Oh, good one. I don't think I would have guessed that for you. But no, you have mentioned it before though. So, and we haven't done it on the podcast yet, so we need to do 12 Angry Men. It's really good. No, I wrote Primal Fear.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
I knew that was one that you liked, so that was my guess. But 12 Angry Men, very good. So we'll have to do that. All right. Bobby, thanks for coming on the Monday Mentor Show. And we'll conclude this one. And people listening, you want to go right into the deep dive. Everything legal that ever happens in Seinfeld. We're going to try to hit as much as we can. There's too much to hit, but we're going to have fun with it. I know a lot of people listening were born after Seinfeld was even on TV. So we may be just talking to ourselves, but again, we'll have fun. So Bobby, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
All right, my thanks again to Bobby Soltani for joining us on the show today. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider doing two things for me? Would you subscribe so you don't miss an episode? And then would you rate and review the podcast in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen? And if you have suggestions or thoughts about the show, or if I could help you in any way, please email me, daniel@varsitysearch.com. Likewise, if you are interested in any of the opportunities that I mentioned earlier or just want to visit about your career trajectory or opportunities that might be out there for you, please get in touch with me. I would be happy to visit with you. And finally, please go and check out our movie verdict style discussion of all things legal in Seinfeld. All right, that's it for today's episode of Lone Star Lawyers. Thanks again so much to each of you for listening. I'm Daniel Hare with Varsity Search, and we'll talk with you next time.